Targets are getting missed, timelines are slipping, and leaders are pulling harder. They are saying priorities louder. They are rerunning the comms. Meanwhile, teams are working themselves to the bone and still hitting walls. Today, let's talk about what is actually in the way and why the fix is a lot less glamorous and a lot more effective than most of us want it to be. Hey, it's Rachel Cooke, your modern mentor. I'm the founder of Lead Above Noise, where we help teams work better by design. We deliver the tools and frameworks to help ensure work is productive, profitable, and energizing for the human spirit. I'd love to come speak at your next event or offsite to deliver the clarity, confidence, and tools your leaders need to bring this shift to life. Reach out today at leadabovenoise.com/connect. So today I want to start with a heads up because I'm on kind of a tear. By now, you know I spend my days in various organizations. Like right now alone, I'm actively working with clients in financial services, biotech, logistics, and healthcare. And what fascinates me is that while realities in each organization are wildly different, the crux of their most vivid pain point is the same. Like literally. In each of these companies, the presenting challenge they're struggling with is some version of this. Leaders are frustrated by results. They know their teams are stretched and tired, but the moment they believe is calling us to step up and do more. Slowing down is not an option, so we have to keep going, to push harder. And here's what I'm helping them each reckon with. Slowing down and pushing harder aren't the only two options. I've got a whole metaphor having to do with tangled necklaces and how when we find a mangled ball of chains, we start by trying to fix it with brute force, which almost never works. And some of us give up. But there's a third option, a right option, and it's taking a beat, looking closely at the mangle, finding those tiny knots, and working each one out. And when we do, we free up the chains, and voila, we have our necklaces back. Here's what I'm witnessing. Senior leaders have done the sexy work, the vision, the strategy, the pillars, the priorities. They've delivered the plan, they've honed the message, they've wished their teams luck. And the operators, the people in the organization doing the work, are doing their best to operationalize said visions and plans. But there's snags, inconsistencies, things that sound wise in a strategy document, but that get complicated fast in the real world. These are the knots. Teams today are struggling to execute well, not just because of AI or uncertainty, as we keep saying, but because there are so many cracks in the plan, things that live between the vision and the work. These knots, they are what we need our senior leaders to be looking at closely right now. And friends, this is my tear, because the work that most needs to be done right now is the grimiest, grittiest, unsexiest stuff out there. It's looking at the knots in our organizations, the stuff keeping us stuck or slow or off track. And I've hit a wall, and I think many of us have. It's about time for that unsexy stuff to have its glow up. Because if we don't bring the ugly, grimy, sexy into the spotlight, we are going to stay stuck in this cave of burnout forever. So let's look at some of the real knots I'm seeing right now, and let's talk about what to do with them. Because I'm willing to bet at least one of these rings familiar, like something your workplace might be wading through. Knot number one is the AI sandbox with no edges. I'm working right now with a tax and accounting firm, and their development team has been told to experiment with AI, find ways to incorporate it into your workflows, get creative. And on the surface, sure, lots of organizations are saying this right now. But here's what this team is sitting with. What they build is software that businesses use to do their taxes. It's built on tax code, on regulations, on rules that are not open to interpretation. And AI, as shiny and compelling as it is, still makes errors. It's imperfect. So what these teams are actually being asked to do is experiment freely inside a system that demands perfection. And nobody is really helping them find where these two things meet. What they need from leadership isn't a mandate or a clear set of instructions, but it's a dialogue. Where are the boundaries of the sandbox? Where is their margin of error, and where must we be at 100%? Where do you see AI playing a role here? And leaders can do more than answer. They can share their own experiments. They can point to places where they've seen it work well. They can be honest that blending experimentation with a need for precision is genuinely complicated. The ask isn't that leaders do the work for them, but that they stop just Muppet arming about AI and get into the complexity of it with their teams. Knot number 2, 6 priorities and not enough hands. Then there's this biotech company I'm working with. They have a crisp list of 6 priorities, and senior leaders are proud of that list. It's 6, not 16. It's tight, right? But in practice, every one of those 6 priorities is pulling on the same small group of subject matter experts, the same developers, the same tech resources. So teams are in a tug of war across silos over whose project gets attention this week. And leadership is looking at them like, you're all adults, figure it out. What operators are telling me is that the priorities were set without a real understanding of what each one demands, not just individually, but collectively and across, how the resourcing plays out across all of these priorities at once. Now leaders love to say, well, go influence without authority in moments like this. But this is bigger than influencing. You can't influence your way into more hours in a day. The ask here is for leaders to help teams manage the tension that they created. Maybe that means breaking priorities into smaller blocks that get sequenced instead of run in parallel. Maybe it's permission to bring in external support. Or maybe it's to start training some new subject matter experts so the pool gets wider over time. Any of those is a real answer where figure it out is not. And knot number 3, 2 leaders, 2 scoreboards. Then there's the financial services client. Their head of marketing is chasing a total revenue number. Their head of product is chasing revenue by product line. It sounds close enough, right? But it's not. Because if you're in the marketing organization and your leader is chasing total revenue, then you build the programs to support your best performing products. That's where the fastest revenue lives, and you're doing what you're being told. But the product teams, they're looking for marketing to support the underperforming products, because that's what moves their leader's number. So marketing and product are pulling against each other every single day. And both teams are right. Both teams are doing their jobs correctly. They're following the direction of their individual leaders. It's just that they're being measured against 2 different scoreboards. No amount of cross-functional collaboration fixes this. No offsite where we all agree to communicate better fixes this. It has to be rectified at the top. Which is the target? Somebody has to answer that. So these are 3, but really there are tons of everyday situations that are slowing us down simply because leaders don't want to look at them. They're just too unsexy. Things like, what do we do when we have aggressive targets but lots of open roles we haven't filled, and the work takes 12 bodies but only 7 are here? Can we adjust? Can we hire contractors or outsource a piece? Or what about the procurement process that is so onerous and convoluted that anytime we need to make a purchase, the thing arrives 4 to 6 months too late? All of these unsexy realities are creating friction that is slowing us down. So what do we do here? When we consider all of these knots, we can see the operators aren't asking their leaders to do their jobs for them. That's the eye roll that I hear coming from the executive suite. And I get it, but it's an unfair interpretation. They're asking for the complexity to be acknowledged, for guidance on how to make choices when nothing is entirely correct, for someone to look at a process that was built 25 years ago and be willing to admit it may not fit today's world anymore. And for you to just consider, here's how I do this work with clients. It starts with executives. I sit with them and I get underneath their frustration. I ask them, what is the felt pain? Where do you believe you're being let down? Then I go in the other direction. I run listening sessions with the operators, the people actually doing the work, and I'm looking for one thing. Where does it break down between the vision and the execution? Where are the knots? Then I synthesize and summarize those findings and I bring them back to the executive suite. And we spend a day together in an offsite, the executive team and me, and we workshop it all. We look at what the data is telling us. We sort it. What do we want to solve? What do we want to address? And what do we simply want to acknowledge? Because sometimes acknowledgement is the best we have to offer. And then we build the plan, actions, key messages, a real way forward. Is it glamorous? No. But it is the difference between a team that's pulling harder on a tangle and a team that's being free to move. So here's my ask of you. Stop pulling, take the beat, and find your knots. Because it's not AI slowing you down, and it's not uncertainty. Really, it's those knots. So the next time you find yourself blowing off a concern or a complaint from your team, really pause. It may seem in that moment like someone just not wanting to do the hard work, but just for a minute, put yourself in their shoes. If you were faced with that exact resource constraint, or that exact priority conflict, or that exact unclear direction, would you know exactly what to do? If so, take a minute and coach them on it. And if not, then do your part to create the conditions in which they can find success. I'd love to hear about the knots you're finding in your organization. Shoot me a note at rachel@leadabovenoise.com and tell me what you're untangling. You can find Modern Mentor on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Find and follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks so much for listening and have a successful week. Modern Mentor is a quick and dirty tips podcast. Thanks to the QDT team. Audio engineer, Dan Farabend. Director of podcasts, Holly Hutchings. Ad operations specialist, Morgan Christensen. Marketing manager, Rebecca Sebastian. Podcast associate, Maram El Naguib. And our marketing contractor, Nat Hoops.